Hi, this is Shane Starr with Sebastian Starr, my son. And as I mentioned in an earlier short video, I'm going to be talking about Nietzsche today. Nietzsche opens up this novel, you could call it, or philosophical treatise with the controversial words, "What if truth is a woman? What then?" What did he mean by this? I don't think he meant the same thing that people would mean it if they said this today, but let's dive into this a little bit and see how it's relevant today and for typology as well, since that's what I usually talk about. So, Nietzsche opens up the book that we're looking at with this phrase. And it reminds me of a recurring theme in my professional and personal life. And it comes from the philosophical position known as perspectivism. Technically, this means that there can be no ontological facts, which is to say, there can be no objective truths. So let's see how it played out in Nietzsche's day in academics, and we'll then relate that to personal issues from there. So I'm looking at chapter 5 on the prejudices of philosophers from this book, Beyond Good and Evil. Quoting Nietzsche, "What provokes one to look at all philosophers half suspiciously, half mockingly, is not that one discovers again and again how innocent they are, how often and how easily they make mistakes and go astray, in short, their childishness and childlikeness, but that they are not honest enough in their work. Although they all claim to make a lot of virtuous noise when the problem of truthfulness is touched even remotely, which is to say, they all pose as if they had discovered and reached their real opinions through the self-development of a cold, pure, divinely unconcerned dialectic, as opposed to the mystics of every rank who are actually more honest and doltish and talk of inspiration, while at the bottom of all these truths is an assumption, a hunch, indeed a kind of inspiration, most notably a desire of heart that has been filtered and made abstract, that they defend with reasons after they have sought after the fact." So what does this mean? It simply means that in typology language, Nietzsche is claiming at the bottom of all decisions, no matter how seemingly cold, pure, objective, and logical, is feeling. For those of you who know your socionics or MBTI functions, we could understand this as Nietzsche claiming that FI reigns supreme over TE, or TI for that matter, even amongst those venerated intellectuals who deny it. So what does this look like in practice? And why would I be making a video about this? When we pass judgment on people, personally or professionally, or they pass judgment on us, I don't like him, I don't like her. Well, why not? What did they do to you? Well, we can make a list of specific reasons why we come to this decision, why we like someone or why we don't like them. But as Nietzsche would say, and as I would agree with him, the feeling comes before the reasons. The feeling predates the reasons, if you want to put it that way. Let's come up with a couple of examples. Say you're in a relationship and the person you're with wants to break up. Sad. And you say, "Why do you want to break up with me?" You can give them a lot of reasons why they should stay with you. I make money, I provide, I love you, I care, I've improved on my errors. And let's say those reasons you give are true and they are logical and they make sense. Ask yourself this: how often do you think such an approach works? I think you know the answer. In times when someone gives you a list of improvements to make, oftentimes you can check each thing off the list. Okay, you wanted A, B, and C done. I've done A, B, and C. And the person will then almost be upset that you achieved those things, and they'll give you a new list of things to do and things that bother them until you either get sick of it and go, or until they just throw their arms up in the air and say, you know what, this just isn't going to work. It's futile to fight it. You can't fight feelings with logic, no matter how airtight and sound and logical your arguments may be. I would say this goes the same way in another direction. Say you're in love with someone and they do something to you that you broke up with someone else for doing the exact same thing, but you're head over heels in love. More likely than not, you'll give them a free pass. Whereas the other person, you said, look, there it is. That's why I don't want this relationship anymore. I can never trust you again, or I can never feel the same way about you again. But the person who you really care about does it. You want to give them a different chance. You want to give them another chance. And so you'll treat one and the same action differently. And this, I find this to be true regardless of what of the 16 types you are. Okay? Time and time again, we see it happen. In fact, I think people who are more logical are more vulnerable to this because they're not as used to playing these games with feelings, so they're not as skilled. Therefore, they don't realize when they're being inconsistent in matters of the heart. So what am I saying? I think ultimately our choices, what kind of people we want to be with, what kind of people we want to work with, what kind of car we want to drive, we can come up with all the reasons in the world, but ultimately it comes down to a color, which is to say, I just like this one better. Well, why do you like this one better? I just like yellow. It's my favorite color. Well, why do you like yellow? Why do you like yellow? It's bright. It's happy. It's attractive. Okay, well, pink is happy. Pink is bright. Pink is attractive too. So why don't you like pink the same? I just don't. It's not the same. Well, you gave your reasons and I gave you logical reasons against it. Did that change the yellow lover's mind? No, it did not. They still like yellow and don't like pink. So what does this mean? I think whether it's, again, philosophical, personal, professional, I think in all matters, the truth of today's message is that there is no truth. There is no objective real truth as we commonly understand it, but rather various perspectives that we give the crown of truth to, And if you're going to argue with me on this video, don't bother me with the facts. My mind's already made up. Peace out.